You have all heard of lions, the fiercest creature of all. Elephants too, most likely, with trunks very long and legs so tall. But very few have heard, maybe none who have been born, of a little rhino called Rodney and his remarkably special horn. Many years ago, in the magical Sabi Sand, a baby rhino was born, a blessing throughout the land. And while he was small and tiny, nothing remarkable at first sight. He had big feet, big ears too, but nothing to give you a fright. His first few years were filled with fun, exploring Africa's wild, for he was curious and inquisitive, as is every wee child. The butterflies and bee-eaters were his absolute best, with colours so bright they always delight, with a sprinkling of zest. As he grew older and wiser, after maybe a year or two, his horn began to grow and change, as we would expect it to. For all his little rhino friends had horns beginning to show. Theirs were grey, looked the same. Perfection, you know. Rodney's horn grew, slow at first, then bigger and bigger. With each marching day, it became ever queerer. His rhino friends, with stunning grey horns, it can be said. But poor old Rodney's was not the same, glowing a fire engine red. And what followed was sad, and quite nasty as well, for little rhinos can be mean, just really not swell. They teased and mocked him in every which way. Oh, look at poor Rodney, with a horn that's not grey. His best friends, his buddies, once gentle and kind, were now all big bullies, leaving Rodney behind. They would no longer play with him. They stayed far away. They pretended not to know him and kept him at bay. Even the mischievous mongooses came scurrying around, laughing and dancing with a horrible sound. Rodney, oh Rodney, you're glowing so bright, it's almost as if you swallowed the night. And the leopards, who are usually so quiet and sleek, couldn't resist teasing him. Nothing about it was sweet. How funny it is, they all chuckled in tune. Rodney's horn glows bright, just like the moon. He wandered the savannah, his heart feeling blue, until he met Hyena, whose Grinchness everyone knew. He just sat there in the mud, laughing and cackling so mean, his crooked teeth gleaming, sharp and horribly unclean. Well, well, what have we here? Hyena gloated with glee. A rhino with a red horn? Oh, how silly you must be. Hyena circled Rodney, his words harsh and cruel. Look at you, Rodney. You look quite the fool. What's with that horn, so shiny and red? A real rhino's horn should be dark grey instead. Hyena's high-pitched taunts were harsh and cut deep. Like a thorn in his side, each word began to seep. Rodney walked on alone, his heart low and sore. Everyone just mocked him, something he couldn't ignore. But as he roamed through the bush, he sensed something was wrong. The air started to feel heavy, and where was the birdsong? A crack in the distance, a spark through the sky. Lightning had struck, and flames soared so high. The grass went up first, the fire spread wide, a runaway blaze with nowhere to hide. The animals all scattered as fast as they could go. This fire seemed unstoppable, burning everything in slow-mo. The wind pushed the flames. Faster and faster they grew. It seemed all would burn. It would leave but few. Birds flew in panic. Zebras stampeded. The fire spread faster than anyone believed it. Then, in the distance, a sight full of dread. Sylvan Safari Lodge was surrounded by red. This luxury lodge, with no guiding light, was surrounded by fire. A truly horrible sight. For the guests were all trapped. They couldn't see a thing. No one to show them, no one with help to bring. Rodney stood frozen, their screams he could hear, like a voice on the wind. His purpose was clear. Through the thick smoke, his horn was a bright glow. He could see perfectly, so to Sylvan he must go. Rodney took a deep breath, his heart full of might. He knew what he had to do. It was his time to shine bright. With his brilliant red horn lighting the way, he charged towards Sylvan without any delay. The rangers were startled, unsure of what they saw, but Rodney's bright glow cut through the smoke with awe. "Follow me," he called out, his voice bold and clear. "I'll guide you to safety. There's nothing to fear." The guests were trembling, lost in the haze, but Rodney's horn shone, a beacon through the blaze. One by one, they followed his lead, grateful for Rodney's courage and speed. Through the smoke and the fire, he led them with care, past the burning trees with the wind in the air. The flames licked close, but Rodney stood tall, his red glowing horn protecting them all. At last, they reached the lodge's vehicle fleet, where rangers helped guests find a safe, comforting seat. Rodney stayed near, his horn still aglow, guiding the way through the fiery bush show. But the fire wasn't finished. It roared with great might. The path ahead was covered in smoke and night. The rangers looked worried, unsure where to drive, but Rodney stepped forward, keeping all hope alive. "I'll lead the way," Rodney declared, nodding his head, and the rangers all knew he meant what he said. With his radiant red horn, shining bright as the sun, Rodney led the convoy, one by one. The animals soon followed, trusting Rodney's lead. Even those who mocked him were now full of need. The leopards, the zebras, and the baboons, too, followed Rodney, trusting him fully to know what to do. Even old Hyena, who had laughed with such spite, now stayed close to Rodney, mesmerized by his light. At last, they arrived at Big Dam so wide, with water of plenty, a safe place to hide. The guests and the animals all breathed a huge sigh. As the flames and smoke died down, the stars filled the sky. The rangers thanked Rodney, their hearts full of cheer. The guests praised the brave Rhino, heroic and sincere. For Rodney had saved them, with his horn glowing bright, a lesson for all on this fateful night. From that day onward, his reputation was clear. Rodney, the red-horned rhino, was held very dear. No longer was he mocked for being unique. His red glowing horn was rather boutique. The animals learned, from huge hippo to small bird, that being different is something everyone preferred. It's the ones who stand out with their special flair, who often bring light when life's particularly unfair. And so, Rodney the Rhino, with his horns so bright, is a celebrated hero full of delight. Now remember this tale as you go on your way, to be kind to all who are different every single day.